Hello, and welcome to A Moment in Time with Taylor and my husband, Mr. Perfect.
What's going on? Which one's the camera?
This is the camera.
She's high tech.
Yeah, so we use Periscope Producer to broadcast through OBS, and if you'd like to learn how to do that yourself, I have it it's my pinned tweet on Twitter, and my username on Twitter is FemYogaTaylor as well. Hey Lise, hey Marshmallow, you were the first comments of the broadcast. It's funny that you said lovely because my husband called me lovely earlier, and I said, I like that you called me lovely. Hello, David and Kev.
Look how small I am compared to you.
Yeah.
She married a really small guy. I am very small.
I am Amazon woman. Exactly. Oh, I think I still have to click a button. Boom. There we go. That's better. That's better.
She's doing high tech stuff in the background. I can't even read, so.
So we are going to be talking about something he talked about on his last Periscope broadcast. You're my husband's evil twin. Oh, well, you must be pretty attractive. Why did the deer cross the road? Chicken was on vacation. Okay, Rome. All right. Merry Christmas to you too, Kev. And hello, welcome everyone. Jackie and Jason and James. Hello. Robert, Lou, thanks for being here. He did this broadcast already, but it was really glitchy because he was using an Android, and that doesn't seem to work friendly with Periscope when you broadcast. So there's an inside tip. I will be including that tip in my ebook about how to make money on Periscope, which launches in January of 2018, just a couple of weeks. And these are all my sponsors for the last 30 days. And I want to say thank you to every single one of them for making this channel possible. We are 100% funded by the viewers. So thank you, like Lise right there at the Super Hearts. Thank you so much. I am a super broadcaster, which means I can cash out on the Super Hearts. So you can support the channel that way as well. And now my husband is supporting the channel by providing us awesome content about what?
So, in short, you could say this is like it's really cliche, but it's kind of like my life's work. So this is what I have here. I'm trying to basically have all this information in such a short piece of paper. But what this really talks about is a cycle that's positive and negative. And people often say, like, is the world black and white? Well, maybe. Can I put something on this side or that side and say it's good or bad? Maybe. And if you did that in an organized way, what would it look like? And what does it basically trace backwards to? What's the source of all these problems? What I realize is that there is no source of all these problems. It loops right around and just keeps on going. So that means that there's a negative loop and a positive loop. And if you understand this loop, how it works, then you can understand why you should not want to do these things and why you would want to do these things and what the benefits are, what the effects are, and all that kind of stuff. So you could probably be even simplified even more. I'm going to try to simplify it for you guys. But basically, we're going to just go down item by item, explain this. And I chose this place to start almost arbitrarily, but it kind of makes sense because this is where it loops around into the next generation, to your children or children that you influence or your grandchildren. So that's kind of where this ends and where this begins. So
before you go into it, so we'll do what the best way to do this is probably like get through like maybe a couple points, and then I'll catch up on comments, so that way I'm not interrupting you. Thanks for inviting your followers, Francois. Welcome, Baz. Yes, so some of you guys, let's see if I can catch. Your loops are all negative, Rome. Well, listen closely. We'll help you incorporate the positivity that we've incorporated into our lifestyle into yours. Yeah. Lou says, hello, Mr. Perfect. Thank you for taking care of Taylor. Francois says we need to sleep if we want Santa to visit.
Fair enough.
And other people said hello to you. Let's see, James, I think. Best Christmas present yet. Yay! And Lotus also said, we love you, Taylor's husband.
Thank you very much.
And that was it. Okay, now you can go. Thank you, Boo. Lise, I called you Boo. Boo Boo. That's your username. I never call you that, but thanks, Boo.
So in order for this to be any use, we have to get politically incorrect. That means that this is kind of like blame, right? Because you're basically saying, like, we're gonna say that people that do this stuff, we're blaming themselves, because this comes back to responsibility. Basically, this chart traces backwards towards responsibility. So that means that anything over on this side typically traces back to irresponsibility, which traces back to temptation, which could also be called sin. And this isn't a religious scope, but it might as well be, to be honest with you. I mean, there's stuff in the Bible that is over on the bad side, but there's a lot of stuff in the Bible on the good side. So the Bible doesn't really help if you're trying to achieve this. The Bible can't really get you there because they forgot a few things. Like they forgot to mention that violence might not be a good idea, stuff like that. So, but there's lots of, but you could call this stuff sins. You really could. It's based on temptation. It's it's very satanic, like something that the devil would tempt you, and these are the kind of outcomes you would get. And this is a little angel on your shoulder. So it starts off.
That's me, the angel. I had Satan on the show, and I was the angel, and you can see that on my YouTube channel, Fem Yoga, if you'd like. Elliot says he likes getting politically incorrect. Hey, Moon Dragon. Thank you, Jerry.
Productive to get politically incorrect, and that's what we're about to do.
So Moon Dragon is in here, and she won $100 from my giveaway that one day when we gave away. We're going to be giving away another $500 when I hit 20 million super hearts. So thanks for all the support, you guys. Every single super heart brings us closer to that big giveaway. And you like medical correctness. That's what Elliot says. And I missed some of those comments, so I'm going to read them. Have you ever read the Bible? We have. Rome says it's called No Impulse Control. You can develop it, though. Have you ever been a Christian? You in particular?
Yeah, we studied Christianity pretty thoroughly, actually, when we first met. And, well, we'll make that another scope. She has some scopes about it, but...
Yep. You can see that on my YouTube channel as well. And hi, Andy.
I really like Christians, though, because Christians are on a path of, like, self-development. And some Christians, I feel like, are going to continue down the path and get even more and more enlightened, We kind of did that, right? I mean, I like to believe that's what we did. I would say this: what do you think would please the devil? Would the Bible please the devil, or would it please God? Because there's things in the Bible that I would argue please the devil, and it claims to be the Word of God. We claim that the Bible is the Word of God. That I think would please the devil. So there's a big problem. Anyways, let's get back to this one because that's
when he says we, he's talking about like humans, not us.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So.
Happy Christmas to you too, Mark.
So the beginning here that I chose was knowledge and ignorance. Basically, knowledge on this side, ignorance on that side. Of course, knowledge can't just come out of nowhere. It has to come from your predecessors. That's what comes first, the chicken or the egg, that kind of thing comes into play. So you start up here, knowledge and ignorance leads to virtue. On the good side, you're basically saying life is a challenge. You're challenged to create virtue. You're challenged to be virtuous. That's what this whole side is all about. This is to challenge you or challenge yourself. This side is temptation and sin. So basically, you're tempted to do something, and there's usually a price to pay. The devil always gets his due, right? So this leads down to self-responsibility. Self-responsibility is a challenge and a virtue. It's not the easy path, it's the hard path. The easy path is to say, to hell with it, and just end up with irresponsibility. So that's why I highlighted these two, because that's kind of the thing to really focus on is self-responsibility. When in doubt, choose the option that fits on the self-responsibility kind of side. And knowledge is incomplete without wisdom, and wisdom is knowledge, and knowledge and experience together is wisdom. So just because you have knowledge, you have to kind of go through and really get some wisdom. And you can get wisdom from your predecessors if you have good predecessors or good influences, mentors, whatever. So that's how this all starts out. Now, for the first item of self-responsibility, it's diet. And the first item of irresponsibility, we're talking about sugar and flour as a temptation. That's kind of like my religion. I always preach it. You guys know that. Sugar and flour is addictive. And it's the number one most important thing you can ever do for your health is cut it loose.
Rum wants to know if that's the no fun side.
Believe it or not, this is the no fun side. I can tell you that. This may seem like it because the devil tempts you with sugar and flour, but it leads to illness, and illness is not fun. If you've been in the hospital, not cool. So this is a way you could sort of blame someone that's ill, which is completely politically incorrect to do, for sugar and flour. And you could also go back and blame all kinds of different things: the government, their influences, the parents, the food pyramid. It all pushes you towards sugar and flour.
I don't know if I saw those super hearts, Elliot, so thank you for the super hearts. I like the chocolate ones. And thank you, Ed, for the super hearts. I can't believe you're awake right now. When are your kids going to wake up and want to open their presents? I can't lose my voice, but yes, Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas. It's hard to resist the temptation of sugar and flour. I did it all night tonight. I was sitting in front of candy bars. Oh my God, I wanted that candy bar, but I didn't eat it. I didn't eat any flour, no bread, none of that.
But he did come home with a candy bar.
Yeah, and I
This is
offered
not
it
a
to her.
scope about religion. We don't believe we're agnostic, so we're not going to make this about religion. I know you're really trying to lead it there, and I actually have a lot that I would like to say and discuss with you, but we just don't have time. It's 2 a.m. in New York where we live, and we have about an hour to get through everything we have on this paper. So
And I'm
I
going to be saying
will
sin a lot
interact
and
with you a
devil and
lot.
so stuff like that because it's just a perfect analogy for what we're dealing with here.
This is a chart that he made from his mind,
Yeah.
actually. Moon.
Yeah, this is just I'm just trying to
Thank
organize
you,
this
Ed. Hey,
because
Dan.
you'll hear people toss out these concepts that are great concepts, but can they be organized into a like a situation?
I feel like this is pertinent. Elliot said that his mother didn't give him sweets as a child, so he has no taste for it. Like he
That's
doesn't
awesome. Yeah.
desire
You ever
it.
see little babies get their first like candy? Like
Just
just it's probably if you look at their face, it's probably not instinctually something you would want.
so don't feed your kids donuts.
Yeah, might be a start. That'll happen when you follow this side, believe it or not. You can get to the point where you can influence your children, your grandchildren, and people that you're around.
And therefore the world
Yep.
in the future.
If you want to fight crime, you want to fight illness,
Fight crime
you
like
can do it.
Elliot and my husband.
So, anyways, that's the first place, right? We've all been there. I've been there. I'm not perfect, but I've been ill, and I blame myself. I had a major sugar and flour problem. I was addicted to it worse than most people. But when I looked around, I realized almost everybody else is as well. They just don't recognize it as an addiction.
Yeah, I was looking at Ed. Francois goes, "Who are you looking at?" Yeah, Ed sent me a picture of his kids with donuts. No, we're not vegans. And Dan says the same thing as a kid. He didn't have candy, and he now doesn't like it. Thanks.
That's awesome. That's
Zyology.
Your predecessor did you a great service there.
Rome said you're going to put the wheat farmers out of business.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. By the way, this is your nutrition map. Vegan is down here with this group of what I call fancy techniques, but sugar and flour is up here. So it's the number one most important thing you can do.
Health is the ultimate responsibility. Health is all you have, right?
Health is all you have. Yeah, you could imagine yourself as a billionaire, bedridden, 80 years old. Would you trade places if you say you were like a 20-year-old that was really poor? Would you trade places with an 80-year-old bedridden billionaire? Would anyone do that?
Right.
So if you think of it from that perspective, you realize your health was more valuable than $1 billion. Okay, so let's keep moving. Sugar and flour is it temptation, and it's going to lead to all this is going to be kind of like a cascade as a major problem. This is just modern stuff. This is what we're dealing with in the modern day. And on the other side, you have a blood sugar diet, which means you eat in such a way as to balance out your blood sugar. That will lead to a huge slew of health benefits.
Vegans do eat flour. We are not vegans. I mean, vegans can eat flour. They also don't have to. Dan says, depends if the bed is made out of gold pasta. And Ed wants to know if he can buy artificial body parts with his billions.
Yeah, I think you probably could. You would have to do some stem cell stuff maybe.
Freaking like Botox.
In the future, as we go along here, yeah, I think people that have billions of dollars will be able to do some pretty fancy medical features. But I gotta be honest with you, like it feels so good to try to be natural, and every time I try to do something unnatural, it typically doesn't feel as good,
Yes, Rom, I think that you could be onto something there. I don't know if he will agree with that as much, but hang on. Malik says that you should create a breakdown digitally somehow.
So
I told him he should write a book.
So you can see it. This is revision number 4. Maybe revision number 5 will be digital.
And then Rome says he believes genetics have a lot to do with health.
Yeah, I think, in the world of modern genetics, we've discovered epigenetics, and epigenetics are switches that turn on and off genes based on the environmental factors. Eating a lot of sugar and flour is extremely unnatural in terms of like the last 400 million years since animals have had stomachs. Like it's extremely unnatural. So it will definitely screw with your epigenetics and ultimately your genetics.
Dan says that medical innovation and research costs hundreds of billions and no individual could do it.
Right, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it probably wouldn't have to cost that much if we could make sure we're barking up the wrong tree with what we do.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yep, good concept there. Yep. So anyways, there's a lot of good side effects, guys, to having a blood sugar diet. And that's what there's so many different things you can call it. Dr. Sears calls it the zone diet. It's the 4-3-3 balance as a starting point. Your genetics will affect it. Some people are
It's
insulin
similar to
sensitive.
keto, right?
It's very similar to keto, although if you are truly keto, that means you're eating like probably less carbs than a 4-3-3. Maybe that's a technique you can use temporarily, but I'm talking about eating for life. Like for the rest of your life, you eat food that balances your blood sugar.
A
That is,
modified paleo diet, Stephen calls it.
yeah,
Thanks for being here,
that's right.
Steve.
Because paleo is,
Lisa, she has very high inflammation in her body.
inflammation is number one thing I would recommend as a non-doctor is cut flour and sugar to address inflammation of all kinds,
This is
like a magic
interesting.
trick.
James says some starches can become resistant starches, like cold cooked potatoes.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yep.
there's tricks you can do.
Low
Sure.
glycemic.
Like if you take, you know, if you drink vinegar or some kind of a vinegar product like Kavita tonics, that can actually cause a bit of a gel and slow down the absorption of sugar. So if you actually accidentally screwed up and add a piece of cake or something, go have a Kavita tonic, and that vinegar might help slow down the absorption of the blood
You're
sugar.
like, oops, I just ate an entire cake.
Oops. Yeah,
Sorry.
I did it happen.
Kevin says he's a type 2 diabetic, which is actually good news because that's preventable for people who are pre-diabetic or not diabetic at all, and also reversible.
Yep.
And everyone's talking about how important diet is, and Dan said low glycemic index foods,
Yep.
which is right on.
Yeah, not only you want to balance, you want to eat your small amount of carbs at a time, but you want to eat vegetable carbs if possible.
Ed wants donuts with no carbs and sugar. He wants to know if he can make that happen.
I will say that I haven't eaten donuts in years. Having been a person who loves donuts, I don't miss them. Your taste buds are, if you're used to eating donuts, your taste buds will change, and you'll almost need them. And also the way that your digestive system is set up, you're going to need those donuts. You're going to crave them. It's almost like an addiction. If you chained yourself to the wall for 5 days, then you would have a chance to break the addiction, just like cigarette smoking or anything like that. You have to treat it like an addiction. When you drive by the donut and you smell it, it's like, what are the chances you're not going to have when it's like almost zero? That's why this is so hard. You get sucked in by your ancestors influencing you. You get sucked into the sugar and flour addiction. You're in deep trouble. Really bad trouble.
Kevin says that his body makes plenty of insulin, it just doesn't distribute it right. And Lisa's like, when you quit smoking. Steve says he hasn't been to McDonald's in over 10 years. Dan says he wants to know if he can pay someone to chain him to a wall. I'm very certain you can do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I paid the hospital $5,000 to do it.
Elliot said he fasted for a long time, and you will hurl when you smell a donut or sniff a pizza.
Nice.
And Moon Mogul, but he also is the one who wasn't raised on sweets.
That's awesome.
Moon Mogul says, when's the last time you guys got ill? Actually, in like the last month. It was the first time in a very long time, especially for him. Yeah. But I've been eating a bunch of crap, so I don't really have any excuse.
It's been a really long time. I didn't even get a cold though. I quit smoking, and I used to get 3 coughing colds a year when I smoked cigarettes back at like 15 years ago. And now I have had 0 since I quit smoking in 2003. 0, not 1 coughing cold.
Do you drink your coffee black, Lou? He says he's addicted to coffee, but I'm thinking like there's probably other things that are more important to focus on than cutting back your coffee.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of what this food chart over here, this chart of nutritional issues, basically has them all. I have all these different diets and nutritional issues, and I'm trying to put them in order of importance. Number 1 is getting your blood sugar sorted out. Everything else is secondary to that. That is kind of that's why I put it up here as the number 1 temptation on the modern world. It's sugar and flour, and it's on the bottom of the food pyramid. Flour equal to sugar. Eat bread, eat sugar. Makes no difference. You can spoon sugar in your mouth. You can eat a piece of bread. Same difference to your blood sugar. It's just, unless you eat wheat bread, it's slightly better to eat wheat bread. But
see, there's more people. Jay Purd wants to know where he can find the chart.
I'll definitely upload this. I'd like to get it nice and neat for you guys, and we'll upload it. Maybe simplify it a little more.
Turn it into an ebook. Yeah. Does meat and dairy cause diabetes? Let's not spend too much more time on food.
You guys will get the idea. Meat and dairy, or being a vegetarian is here, number 9. Being vegan is here, number 10. In terms of importance, I would argue that it's probably pretty low. And it's we'll have a whole scope that explains this and kind of sorts out some of the concerns you'll hear about, like should I go non-dairy, should I go vegan, should I do gluten-free? All those issues are minor compared to this. That's how serious this is. This is the cause of diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and autoimmune disease primarily. So it's kind of like if you could do anything, if you do only one thing, it would be that. So, all right. So
I'm
we got
quickly going to just show the glycemic index. Boom.
sure.
Nope, that didn't work. That was just a black screen.
The amount of carbs matters in combination with the glycemic index. You got to eat fat and protein with your meal to slow down the absorption of blood sugar.
So there's the numbers if you want to take a screenshot of that. Leo says 80-10-10.
80-10-10.
Douglas takes metformin. Leo says high carb, low fat.
Metformin is a very common prescription that helps you even out your blood sugar. But it's a band-aid to the real problem, which is eating carbs.
Elliot says dairy gives him a bubble gut.
Yeah, dairy is it's an issue. It's just like they talk about meat. There's two different kinds of dairy: real dairy and insane world dairy, which is industrial dairy. Then meat, the same thing. You have real meat, like some deer running around the woods, and then you have industrial meat. One is you could blame industrial meat for problems, and it probably would be true because we feed our animals grains, carbs. They don't eat. That's not what they eat. And for the last 300 million years.
Yeah, we feed them like corn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, GMO corn. Okay, so we have that's the number one thing, guys, right there. If you could just end the scope now and be like, okay, done.
But, okay, bye, guys. You're all worthy being loved. I'm just kidding. We have, let's just check our time so we have an idea.
Yeah, we have.
We're 20 minutes in, so okay, we have like.
So I'll move through these quicker. Okay. All right, so you have a healthy appetite, a reduced sweet tooth, as somebody mentioned here already. If you do the blood sugar diet, it's going to lead to health. Do the sugar and flour leads to illness, simple carb addiction, altered taste buds. So those are some of the positives and negatives of falling into temptation. You guys know that. Okay, steady energy. No need for caffeine. You have a more steady energy. Ask the gladiators. They kind of knew. They did oats. They probably did whole oats, which are called groats. You wouldn't want to probably just eat oats alone. You'd want to eat it with nuts to get fats and proteins in there with your meal. Steady energy. No need for caffeine. Do on this side, you get low energy. You get fatigue. Fatigue totally sucks, right? Improved brain function. This is a big deal because with improved brain function, you can focus on stuff and you can engage critical thinking.
We just talked about this in my last broadcast.
Yeah, engaging critical thinking is what will set you on this path, and it'll allow you to recognize these bad things. So you have on the other side, you get brain fog, depression, anxiety, irrational thought, gullibility, which leads to susceptibility on cons, fraud, and propaganda. Propaganda comes from the devil. Right? Yeah, he's lying, deceiving.
Ed said he's going to invent donut-fed beef.
That could be interesting. It could be a genetic experiment. I could probably get funding from Monsanto or somebody.
Elliot wished he was a gladiator for a long time. Eat oats and fight all day.
That's right.
Rome said, okay, no flour, no sugar, no meat, no dairy. We didn't say no meat or no dairy.
Right, yeah.
You inserted that.
No industrial meat. It's a minor issue. Down on my lower list, I would say don't even worry about your meat and dairy. Eat it. For now, I would focus on go to war against sugar and flour.
I disagree. So this is good. That's why we're collaborating on this. So I would actually focus on replacing your meat and dairy and your vegetables and everything. Going organic is something that's easier to do than quitting sugar and flour. Although yes, quitting sugar and flour is more important and going to have more impact. It's harder, so it's not a low-hanging fruit because it's the hardest thing, breaking an addiction. So to me, like if you can go to organic grass-fed dairy, so this is your milk, your butter, your cheese, your yogurt, even if you're having sweets and ice cream, you can have the dairy part of that at least be organic and grass-fed. Grass-fed is the most important part with dairy and meat, and even with eggs, you would want like free range, because then where they're eating grass or something. I don't know what.
Pasture, they eat bugs.
But like
if it's like chickens,
I don't know how chickens end up getting it somehow, but they create something called vitamin K2. You can look it up online if you would like. Shut up, Ed. Thank you for the super hearts. Broccoli and green beans every day. That's awesome. Okay, I'm getting distracted by comments. I don't want to ignore you guys, but I'm trying to say something. So vitamin K2 helps to redistribute the calcium in your body. So it will help to build up teeth and bones, nails. So it helps to bring calcium to those places, and it also helps to prevent calcification of your arteries and veins. So this is like the number one killer in America is heart disease, and there's blockages, and that's calcification. That's from your body not being able to move calcium through your body safely, or not safely, but like correctly. So if you have vitamin K2, it can help. And the only vegan source of vitamin K2 that I know of is organic natto, which is fermented soybeans. So as long as you're not vegan, then you can just eat. It tastes exactly the same. I think even better in a lot of cases. Butter, cheese, milk, yogurt, even if you're eating ice cream, which I don't recommend, you want it all to be grass-fed dairy that you're having. To me, that's easier to do first because you don't necessarily have to do it first. It's just easier to make that change than it is to quit sugar and flour.
She could be right, and to say I have organic at number 4, so it is near the top. So if it helps you get this achieved, if it helps you clear your mind or whatever, give you extra strength or give you some a transitional way, then she could be right that maybe it's better
because it automatically starts clearing your sewage system of your body, your blood, your teeth, your bones, things that start really going when you're aging, and it's something that is easy, I think. I mean, it might cost
this is not
a couple
easy.
more dollars,
Quitting
but
sugar and flour is extremely hard, and that's no doubt about it. If
make
you can
your
do a
own
transition,
food.
I didn't go from 0 to hero on not eating sugar. I had to transition. So yeah, whatever it takes.
Merry Christmas to you too, T-Cats, and he said Merry Christmas to
Merry
you.
Christmas. Have a Bitcoin Christmas.
Yep. So it has the phytoestrogens. I thought tax reform would kill us all. All right. Coumadin and vitamin K. It's not vitamin K. It's different than that.
That's K1.
Kevin. Yep. So that's K1, yeah. Totally different. So you're good with vitamin K2. I mean, check with your doctor, but your doctor probably doesn't even know what vitamin K2 is. Yeah, so tell him to Google it and then tell him if he has any problems. But if he's already allowing you to drink milk and butter, then you're fine. You can just go switch to grass-fed. Although I'm not a doctor. So thanks for the Super Hearts, T-Cats. Merry Christmas, Erasmo and Baton Rouge from us in New York. They want to know if you're Ethan Hawke because you look just like him.
I had surgery so I could disguise I'm in witness protection.
That's why we don't tell you guys his name.
Ethan Hawke.
Because his name's Ethan Hawke. Turkey tail mushrooms? Okay, good night, Ed. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the Super Hearts, and enjoy your Christmas as Santa. And I hope that you only got the good kid gifts. Hi, Mohair.
You gotta have yin and yang. Good cop, bad cop.
K2, right. Well, if you get organic, then you would know that there wasn't pesticides.
Generally.
Who is it that loves cream cheese? Both of us.
Sure. Cream cheese. Why not?
Cream cheese for the win.
I ate hundreds of pounds of coconut oil.
Xarelto I haven't heard of. It's like Coumadin? Okay.
Yeah, okay, so we've got improved brain function, and we got on the other side, we got brain fog, depression, anxiety, irrational, gullibility. If you have any of these mental issues, they can be improved, believe it or not, which is great. Brain fog, I mean, I still get some brain fog. It's not perfect, but it's better. I can tell you that. Resist injury. That's a big deal. Chronic disease, dental disease, you can resist it. On this side, the sugar and flour side, you're susceptible to injury, susceptible to chronic and dental disease, you're susceptible to infectious disease. All these things are misery, complete misery.
Which could be actually why I got ill, because I was eating pretty bad on my vacation and I was exposed to different germs.
When you eat sugar, your immune system is suppressed for hours.
Oh, interesting. Douglas says there are no diet restrictions with Xarelto.
Xarelto.
Which is like Coumadin. So with Coumadin, they say that you can't eat vegetables.
Right.
So he's saying that he can now with that. So that's, at least it's good that you can eat dark leafy greens.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Definitely. Dark leafy greens are way up on my list of important things. Actually, it's number 2 on my dietary list. Okay, so you're more susceptible to disease, more resistant to disease, and more resilient bouncing back from the disease. So there's a big benefit there. Here's one: extended youth. Protect your DNA. So by eating sugar and flour, you accelerate aging and do telomere damage. And you basically, we were saying that your youth, your health is like the most valuable thing in the world. It's worth billions of dollars. So you don't want to damage your DNA.
Dan said Coumadin is rat poison.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Essentially.
T-Cat says he doesn't watch what he eats at all. It's mostly steaks.
I mean, that's better than sugar.
He's got it. Douglas has to pay $300 a month for that medication. Is that with or without health insurance? Lee says that she injects a blood thinner.
A lot of people are doing it, yeah. Sugar thickens your blood, by the way. Sugar thickens blood. How about that, right? What a coincidence that these things kind of work together. Drinking lots of water and cutting carbs will help thin your blood naturally. Water is a great blood thinner.
There you go. Increase your water intake.
It really is like directly rat poison. I went, wow, that's amazing. Creepy. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you can extend your youth, guys. I mean, that's self-responsibility extends your youth to whatever percent. Scientifically, I believe they could back me up on that. Eat the sugar, accelerate aging. That's a disaster. Okay, you can become or attract a quality mate. You're going to have a better chance of becoming or attracting a quality mate if you run this side. No doubt about it. You drop 5 pounds of body fat and water weight probably in the first week or two of quitting sugar and flour. That's a pretty extreme thing to just quit it like that. I don't know if everybody can do that, but you probably notice extreme weight drop depending on what your weight is to begin with. Lots of people are trying to lose weight. Lots of people are trying to find mates. Lots of people complain about the bad mates they found. There's a solution right here. Self-responsibility. It's the opposite of blame. So,
Leo, that would be both. So he's saying, are you referring to added sugars or natural sugars like fruits? Natural sugars that occur in fruits are less harmful, of course, than like fake sugars, I would say, but you can still go overboard with them. Like if you eat 5 bananas at once with no fat and protein, you're still going to have a blood sugar spike.
I would argue that if you eat one banana, that's too much sugar, especially if you don't eat it with fat and protein. You know why? Because bananas don't exist.
So eat it with peanut butter.
Bananas that are this big, I don't know on the screen here. That big bananas, you guys probably can't see my scale here. Here's a pen. A real banana is like this big.
Elliot attracts a lot of men, and he prefers women exclusively.
A real apple is like this big. You know what I mean? An apple is not like that.
Right.
So like what we've done is we've hybridized and selected for gigantic fruits. That's way too much. Fruit juice is even worse. Orange juice, bad idea. It's too much sugar. I think 20 to 30 grams of sugar at once is about all I would ever recommend for anybody.
And don't feed Santa cookies because it's just going to slow him down.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to.
Oh yeah, cookies. I mean,
make sure it's grass-fed milk for Santa.
Yeah, cookies are out. I don't eat cookies. 100%. Don't eat them. They're flour and sugar purely. Okay, so you can become or attract a quality mate, or you can attract a toxic relationship. You can repel quality mates if you're on this side.
Maybe
you'll see why as we go.
Maybe a smoothie for you, Lise, if you can't get hard food down. Maybe like a smoothie that's got somewhat of a neutral taste as much as you can. That maybe you can just kind of like get it down. Just a thought.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? That fruit is. That's why we said modified paleo, because paleo is big on fruit.
Hi, but thanks for being
not
here.
those fruits. We like real fruits. That'd be like little things like blueberries and stuff like that. Okay, so you can increase your capacity to consider others, which is actually, is that saying it's a solution to psychopathy and narcissism? Yeah. Donald Trump eats McDonald's. Maybe if he didn't, he would be able to increase his capacity to consider others. And of course, on the bad side, you decrease your capacity to consider others, and you're aiding in misdirection. So that's a problem. More time, energy for learning and productivity. So you have more free time, which you can use it for learning, productivity, play, plan, think, social stuff.
I love all those things.
Yep.
And time on the other side, and socializing.
On this bad side, you get to spend time dealing with symptoms. Stressed out.
Francois says we're ruining Christmas dinner.
Yes.
Yes, berries are great, Pablo.
Don't worry about that.
Pretty hard to go overboard on berries.
Just absorb. If you can absorb this information and like transition and just start to think in this frame of mind and start looking around at all the sugar and carbs you see everywhere, and you'll start to see the reality emerge.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for the super hearts. He says this information is amazing, life-changing. Listen up, people. Feel it. Feel the emotion of getting your life. Getting, the fact that all of this is in your hands. You can do this. This is your choice. It's not, you don't have to wait for someone else to do this for you. This is something that if you're not happy with the way your body looks, the way your body feels, the way your mind feels, if you're feeling foggy, if you're just in a place in life where you're just not feeling it and you want to feel vibrant, you want to feel enthusiastic about life, you want to be happy, then this is pretty much the secret.
It's good stuff. Yeah, it leads to everything. It talks about politics, issues, everything. A lot of politics relates to self-responsibility issues. So on this side, the good side, you got more willpower, and you have sobriety. Doesn't sound very exciting, I know, but you're going to generally have a little bit more of that going on, as opposed to being more susceptible to other types of temptations. We're talking about addiction and drug abuse. Drug abuse, we're talking pharmaceuticals, recreational drugs, whatever it may be. If you use a drug, that's one thing. If a drug uses you, it becomes drug abuse. That's on the bad side, and there's a lot of negativity that results from drug abuse, obviously. So you want to be. This is going to lead to more willpower, more sobriety, which leads to a lot of productivity and other things. All right, you're going to be biased towards the positive. If you're on this cycle, you'll be more biased towards the positive as opposed to the negative. That's a big deal. Having positive bias, just generally speaking, maybe it leads to the law of attraction. How do you phrase that now?
I don't know. We haven't decided. I've been talking
Still
about it with
working on
Ned
it.
a little bit. Maybe
Yeah.
force of attraction. We don't like the
Yeah.
word law.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a tendency or something, but
Yeah.
so on this side, you're incentivized and able to be more productive.
The law of
Incentivized and
sometimes
able.
attracting. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Ability. We're talking about energy and ability and productivity. That's going to lead to things like wealth. We'll get down there. And on this side, you're disincentivized to improve, to produce. You're
There's a cash can.
disincentivized to care. You're disincentivized to invest. You're going to be more short-termism, more YOLO, and you're going to
YOLO.
consume your own future prosperity. That is debt, which we're leading right into. On the positive side, you have hope and you invest in your future. You actually care.
So that's the difference between Epicurean and Stoic. So Epicurean, if you hear that term, that means someone who's like, they live for the moment, they live for the day, they don't think about the future, they don't think about tomorrow, they just see, carpe diem, seize the day, which is good advice to seize the day, but also keep in mind the future, and that's what Stoic means. So that's someone who, they're not going to get so emotionally hyped up in the moment, they're just going to blow all their money on this right now, and then not have anything for tomorrow, or next week, or next month, or even next year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, Seth, I'm so sorry. Well, when you heal up, when you're ready to do some yoga, it could help potentially prevent further back injuries. But you don't want to start a new exercise practice while you're healing from your injury. Carpe noctem. Am I saying that right? Yes, seize the night.
Sex is bad. Actually, we're going to get to reproductive issues. I will say this. Here's this. Improve reproductive health. Impotence, decreased sperm count, and sperm quality.
There you go. So if you want to have good sex, you do this stuff.
You want to have productive sex to make babies. I don't know if it'd be. I mean, I guess you could make
Yeah,
babies
but what
on this
about
side too.
you need a good erection to have good sex.
Yeah, your blood flow is directly related to sugar and flour.
Vitamin K2.
K2 as well. Yeah. But sugar and flour in particular, you got thicker blood from eating a lot of sugar. It's going to affect your erection by 10%. It says it right here. I made that up. I'm not a doctor.
Grow your penis by 10%.
10%.
You heard it
go.
on Fem Yoga. If you found value from this content, you can go to femyoga.com, click support Fem Yoga, and support the channel for probably $1,000 or more because come on.
Guys, I really did. I made that
penis
up.
enhancement.
Yeah. However, if someone is suffering from impotence, I would absolutely look here rather than at the pharmaceutical solution. Absolutely. ED is the first sign of heart disease.
Thank you, Dan.
Erectile dysfunction. Okay, so now we're talking about investing in the future and caring about the future. It leads to things like wealth. And my form of wealth here is gold. And the opposite of that is credit and debt. Now, there's different kinds of debt you can use to invest money. Yeah, pretty much any paper has a counterparty risk. It has
pretty
debt
much
attached.
All
It's
currency.
leverage.
Yeah, all fiat currency. Hey, Atari.
It's
Have
very
you met my
tempting.
husband?
Hello.
Hi.
It's very tempting. This goes down from temptation.
We don't have kids.
Credit and debt is
because
tempting.
we're talking about penis enhancement.
Gold is absolutely, it's sober. It's like not exciting. Doesn't pay any dividends. There's no fancy leverage or anything like that. Gold is just actual real money. It's been money for 6,000 years. It's hated in the modern media. That's a good sign.
Rome, you better be following me because you are going to experience a powerful mindset shift in 2018. If you stick with us, I'm on here for 3 hours every single day, and it's what you're focusing on anything that you can, anything that will keep you doing what you're already doing. You're saying like, oh, just whatever I like, don't do that. Well, if you like being happy, if you like being attractive, if you like feeling good and having energy and being wealthy, and so on and so forth, having good sex, like you said, then it's the opposite of what you're claiming that it is.
I'm glad they said that because I totally missed the whole sex section. How did I just?
Did you write erection? Did you write 10% increase in erection?
Right on you right now.
10% increase in male sex organ size. If anything, I have erections too often. Like I'm just ironing a shirt. Erection. How old are you?
That's a good sign.
Francois thought that was funny. That's Elliot. That's your twin.
All right, guys. So yeah, think about gold. This is something that might be completely foreign to you, but if you wanted to know what the opposite of debt was, it's gold. It's not paper gold either. I'm talking real gold, in your
Real
hand gold,
currency.
which I should have brought some sample to show you guys a
Wow,
small piece
Seth,
of
that's
gold.
amazing. He's 43 years old. He's never had a credit card. Never had any debt.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's
Now
really
you
cool.
can use debt, like for example, Ed, he talks about a lot of the ways that you can use debt to invest. However, if you're not backed up by some gold and you have zero gold, I would be concerned. You know, we put 10% in the portfolio is what was recommended. The
Yeah, you're
retirement funds,
23.
all
It'll
the
slow down.
retirement funds for the states, no gold, zero. They go 100% in equities. They go 100% into real estate. I'm not 100, just 67% for New York State into these leveraged gambling casino. That's people's retirement. They don't want to be safe and play gold. They want to play the credit markets and the debt markets with it, and nobody seems to care. If you get some gold, you might be one of the only few people who did, and maybe one of the only few people who benefits.
Well, like you just said, if you're not healthy, you don't have any extra time because you're working hard, you're sick all the time. So you don't have time to realize that, that your money is not even real. You don't have time to actually philosophize like we're doing now.
You can be more susceptible to propaganda and cons and fraud. And I can
Don't
tell you,
drink the gold.
in my mind, the market manias are basically fraudulent. They're insolvent. The banks are insolvent. The government's insolvent. It's a fraud.
Happy birthday, Elliot. It's his birthday tomorrow.
Wow, cool.
Dan says he uses credit cards to buy Super Hearts, but I already knew that, and now he's just sending a bunch of Super Hearts.
Yeah, and guys, for the record, I do use credit cards, but I don't. I actually, for the longest time, I didn't carry debt. I carried debt to buy the house, but only because I had some gold that I could have sold, and if I wanted to, I could pay off my credit with the gold. So I'm actually using credit to pay off the house. And if I got in a pinch and they squeezed me and said, "Pay it off now, or we're taking the house," I would have to sell gold to pay for it. So,
but at least he could.
At least I could.
He wouldn't be like, I don't know. I guess I work for you now.
Yeah, exactly. I guess you own my house.
Atari, I hate that.
I'm sure that kind of scenario is probably not going to happen because that's probably the last thing they would want is to watch the housing market collapse. They're actually doing the exact opposite. They're printing to try to keep the housing market supported.
Boom! Dan said gold, the original Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
We tried a lot of different things and we found out gold was the best. We tried over and over and over and over. Every government tried to find some other way, and every time they lose to gold.
T-Cats gave all of his family a little bit of Bitcoin, including me. I'm glad I'm part of the family team.
That was awesome. It's good to learn about. Okay, so moving on. Gold, you produce a surplus, you get savings, capital, abundance, prosperity. Those are awesome things. And it leads down here to freedom, financial opportunities. On the debt side, you accumulate debt just to maintain.
Absolutely. He's been buying a lot of silver. Is that good?
Right now, I would say that's probably good. Of course, I can't make investment recommendations, but I personally buy physical silver at these prices, yeah. Think about it in terms of percentage of your portfolio. Have some gold, have some silver, keep it in a reasonable percentage of how you feel comfortable in terms of safety and versus risk.
DigiXDAO is backed by gold.
What is it?
DigiXDAO. It must be a cryptocurrency. It's T-Cats.
Oh, cool. I'll check it out.
We have about a half hour left.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Cool.
So you're going to be accumulating debt just to maintain.
Gold. Sorry, that was interesting. Chinese gold.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting.
Francois says he has silver fillings. Is that a good place to store it?
No, because they use mercury with your silver.
No.
Don't put mercury in your head. I have some, and I regret it. I wish it was not
Atari.
Mercury in my head.
Dan says, so ultimately, should you have real property over money?
I think the best thing to do is have both. Because the government can tax your real property at any rate they want. They take their pen and they go, ta-ta, you owe me $8,000. And if you don't pay it, they take your property. So that gold is a private investment that you can keep privately. You can give it to your descendants and stuff privately. Like there's no estate tax on that. Probably legally too. You don't have to report your gold holdings to the government. It's actually, at least not at this point. So you can privately own that wealth. And I'm not advocating for tax evasion, but I am advocating for tax avoidance, which the tax code encourages. So that's cool.
Kieran, thank you for the super hearts. Oh my God, you started a crazy trend with your chocolate popcorn last night. It's like all my notifications on Twitter.
Popcorn on here somewhere?
Is your popcorn GMO? Do you have no genetically modified popcorn, Kieran?
Let's see if it fits on this list. No, I don't see it on the list. Sorry, guys.
Thanks for the super hearts. You wish you invested in Apple, yeah. But you said you invested in gold, so that's pretty awesome.
Gold will treat you right, especially
Property
over
taxes.
decades. Yeah,
Right.
property taxes are a real bummer. They are basically, we'll go there. We'll get there. Okay, so on the bad side here, we're talking about accumulating debt. If you play this game, you play with debt, you're going to end up accumulating debt just to maintain. In other words, using credit cards to pay credit cards or to pay interest. You end up with poverty. So on this side, you have prosperity. On this side, you have poverty. Poverty leads to things like violence, and violence is a major problem, as you'll see as we go further down. So,
Contradiction says happy holidays.
happy holidays.
And Dan, I will teach you how to use Twitter. Just call me. You got my number.
All right.
He's
So,
like, someone doesn't teach me how to use Twitter. I don't even know why I said that.
financial opportunities will just appear. Like if you have some gold, for some reason, financial opportunities come your way, whether it be gold or cash or whatever form of just savings,
Money
capital.
makes money.
Yeah,
It's like it attracts. It's
it's
the
kinda
force
like-
of attraction.
Yeah, it has that effect, and that has the opposite effect. Seems
Oh,
like
yeah, it
opportunities just never come your way. They just seem to pass you by or disappear or never appear.
Yeah, it's weird. Like when you try to comment on something on Twitter, anyone who was tagged in the original post gets like tagged in all the replies. Just follow Trump's lead. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the super hearts contradictions. Rome, good advice. Phone's dying. One love to you too, Seth. Thanks for being here and enjoy your Christmas. Yeah, they were like $5. It's okay. Don't focus on the what could have been. I couldn't figure out how to read them. Oh, Dan, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I'll show you. My software is updating, but I'll show you. Just remind me. I'll show you. Okay. Oh, wait. Is there a less sweet version of corn? I think there's sweet corn and then there's like just normal corn, but if it's too sweet for you, I don't know. Just don't eat it if you don't like it.
Try heirloom corn, heirloom blue corn.
Check. Just whatever Trump does, do that. You'll be president in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan says he pretty much follows all things Trump does. If Trump does it, I do it. Maize. Dan says maize.
Yep, organic heirloom blue corn probably has a better chance of being actual real corn if there is even such a thing. But the corn that we have, the big giant blonde colored sweet corn, has probably been selected and probably really, really high in sugar. But anyway, so financial opportunities appear, they pass you by. That leads to freedom and self-sovereignty. So if you have capital, it leads to freedom and self-sovereignty. That's an important feature of reality, of life. If you don't have self-sovereignty, don't have freedom, there's all kinds of problems. On the other side, you have financial stress, relationship stress, financial enslavement. So that's the opposite of financial freedom is financial enslavement. You got to do someone else's bidding. And a lot of people, they complain about it, like you hear about in the old labor wars, right? All the labor guys were just like so mad because the evil business barons were like taking advantage of them. Yeah, but guys, if you like were actually to say these employers are the bad guys, the only thing that they could possibly do bad is use the government to cheat. But if they're actually operating in the free market, they almost can do no wrong. They're giving people a job. They're creating productive business that sells products at productive prices and yada yada. You get that idea. So if you have to work for them and you resent it, you can beat them by getting rich and start your own business and show them how it's done. That's pretty much the only way you can beat them. Some of them are born rich and it seems unfair, but it is true that you should be able to pass this on to your kids. Let them do with what they will.
Exactly, Elliot. All the plants were all modified, and yes, we're doing corn talk because Kieran came in, and when he comes in, everything just goes crazy. Like we talked about popcorn, and then today we talked about corn. We talked about yesterday was unicorns, and what we were talking about maize and some other type of corn that I forgot. I was gonna make a corn joke, but I don't.
What's the difference between maize and corn?
But we just hit 100,000 super hearts. Thank you guys! I want to do because I don't know. I just feel excited. Yay!
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if I hit you in the head? I feel good too.
So when you have freedom and self-sovereignty on the, when you have capital, you can control your life. You have the direction. You'll be able to use your ambition to actually guide you in some direction. That's very helpful. On the other side, you have a loss of control, financial enslavement, helplessness. You get swept up by the winds. You go with the herd. That doesn't tend to work out well in the long term. On the positive side, you get confidence, self-esteem, self-respect. On the other side, you get self-loathing, self-doubt, self-destruction. That's a major problem.
We're gonna do another collaboration scope where we rip up the carpet in this room and fix the squeaky floorboards.
Mm-hmm.
High fives all around. Yeah, power to the people. How long can Taylor hula? I could have gone longer, but it was just so squeaky. It was really driving me crazy. This quite literally is the most incongruous situation I've ever experienced. I'm just like hula hooping frantically in the back. Oh, that's sweet, Rome, and thank you for following me. And enjoy your daughter. That's great. That's great. I need a beer in my hand while hulaing. You guys wouldn't have even been able to see it anyway, so maybe I did. Okay.
All right, so you get confidence, self-esteem, self-respect. You get the strength to walk your own path. That's a big part of this, obviously. You're going to do a lot better if you walk your own path.
Yeah.
Security.
The road less traveled.
You'll have more security. If you don't have any wealth, you're susceptible to economic conditions. You're susceptible to things like superstitions, frauds, cons, bubbles, propaganda. That's unfortunate. You don't want to be susceptible. You want to be secure. You want to be resistant.
I do have cash cannons on my Amazon wish list, femyoga.com. Click support femyoga. At the bottom of the page, my Amazon wish list. Cash cannons! You just ordered a green screen? Yes, T-Cats. Yes, make sure your graphics card is powerful enough on your computer because mine totally, I needed to upgrade my laptop. Okay.
So you're going to end up in a higher quality environment if you have wealth. Over time, just it works out that way. If you're in poverty, you end up in a high stress environment, possibly toxic, possibly unsafe. Not to say there isn't toxic environments on the wealthy side. Trust me, people's houses are full of perfumes and, cleaning chemicals and whatnot. So you got to watch out for that too. That comes up here with knowledge. You can help rid your home of that kind of crap. I can smell people's laundry from like a mile out in the woods and stuff. It's probably the dryer sheets. Probably not good for you. Okay, so you're going to, on the positive side, you can repel, reveal, or escape toxic relationships and toxic environments. You may not even recognize it, a toxic relationship or a toxic environment, until you get sorted out over here. You can attract mentors. That's a big deal. Why would a mentor want to help somebody who's not willing to help themselves?
Like Dan.
Self-responsibility
Ed.
Attracts mentors.
My husband.
Capital and wealth. It shows that you've proven yourself, that you can do this. And the mentors, now they have some confidence in you, and they can pick you up, and believe me, they can lift you up a long way.
Yes, exponential growth.
Mm-hmm. Now over here, you can literally repel mentors. Over here.
Says that she uses vinegar and baking soda for laundry.
Interesting, yeah. Vinegar and baking soda, two of the most basic, important, useful, household cleaning and chemicals.
Yeah, I love that, girl.
And you can mix them together to create reactions and whatnot. So yeah, you can actually repel mentors. I mean, that's like one of the worst things you could do.
Ask that question again at the end, T-Cats. We just want to get through. We're almost
getting there. We're gonna
get to it, and then if we have more time, just because it's almost 3 a.m.
Yeah. So you can, on this side, you can actually.
Dan. Okay, just because let's talk about this. Scented detergent is designed to cover up poorly washed clothes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
We use OxyClean too, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you can build and create and repair and contribute and heal because you're gaining some power over here. You can actually do these things. All these things that the liberal left claims they want to do is help people, right? And the right as well. They have all these things they want to do, but you got to be over here to actually be able to do anything. Over here, you end up destroying, squandering, wearing out, consuming, and wasting. So that's the opposite of actually, what we're trying to do here. You can actually become a mentor if you're on this side. You can actually mentor someone else. You can be an advisor. Mm-hmm. Over here, you can become a bad influence. That's like the worst thing is you're actually going to pass all this on to somebody else. Again, we're doing this as a victim blaming, politically incorrect thing here. I'm not saying you guys are bad.
And it's probably not black and white. It's not like you live on one side or the other. You probably do some of the stuff right, some of the stuff wrong. It's just a matter of learning, kind of just seeing the pattern, getting that kind of truth vision, what's the reality, not what people want you to think and, what's the common thread and the just one size fits all. What's the word I'm looking for? The standard operating procedure. Hey, thanks for the super hearts, Baz. You want to start to think outside the box and look for these patterns of, people who are successful and happy in life. What kind of things are they doing? And I'm not talking about just wealthy. I'm saying actually happy, actual success, not like they inherited a bunch of money and now they're addicted to drugs or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you can become a great parent and create a strong family. Huge. That's a huge thing.
If you want to change the world, that's probably one of the most powerful ways to do it.
Yep. This is all a big loop. So on the bad side of that loop, you could actually have a broken family, or even be a bad parent or a bad influence to your child or your grandchildren or somebody's children. So that's, the Satan, the devil, he would love that, right? He's watching us pass on bad stuff to our kids. That would be the ultimate win.
Yeah, like feeding them baby formula made of high fructose corn syrup.
Oh my God.
What is being consumed by Liberty DIY? This is actually Mr. Perfect. Jack is the name of the cat. But thank you for remembering Jack's name.
This is a purple carrot. It's organic heirloom purple carrot. You want some?
ASMR.
Okay, so you can actually educate or influence other people against dependency and for nonviolence. Over on this side, we're talking about dependency on government. If you follow this, you can end up dependency on government. And if you're susceptible to propaganda,
you don't want to be dependent on anyone, really.
No, yeah. I mean, this is just something I see in the world today. The dependency on the government, the blame game, the victimhood stuff, that all comes from this cycle. It's amazing. If you were to actually go on this cycle, you absolutely will not end up dependent on the government. You will end up probably yelling about all the people that are dependent on government while blaming your butt for being over here. This rich guy over here is holding them down. That's what you'll hear. So meanwhile, they have to help themselves. They have to jump over here and do some of that stuff, and they have to resist temptation. So that's a tall order. That's why it's not easy to do. So you can actually resist that dependency.
Sorry, yeah.
Now, with dependency on government can come things like corruption, crime. We're talking about physical assault. We crossed out the word violence and we put physical assault because there's problems with the word violence. Self-defense, we really don't see a problem with that. If somebody's coming at you, you better stand up and defend yourself, right? I mean,
come at me, bro.
Come at me. As best as you can. You don't want to be a soft target. So you can, on this side here, you can actually live longer.
On Twitter or something.
Right? We talked about extending your youth. That means you can live longer, and you can actually influence children. If you have a premature death, it's hard to influence children and grandchildren. I lost my dad at 60-something. Guess what his favorite thing was to do? Eat junk food. He ended up in some serious trouble in terms of health. He ended up in some self-loathing. He was, smoking cigarettes and eating junk food and stuff like that. It cost him his life at the age of 66. He was a strong, healthy guy. I mean, he was a monster. He could have crushed me with one hand, but yet he ended up, because of a heart problem, just dying premature. He could have influenced my grandchildren if he was still around, because he was a very wise guy in a lot of ways. So you can live long, influence your children, influence your family, your friends, pass on your resources, like I talked about here, gold. You can pass on opportunities, knowledge, wisdom. And then you can loop that right around. And your children can start off here instead of starting off here.
Like Elliot and Dan, who didn't get sweets as children. I'm so jealous of you guys. Seriously, so jealous.
Yeah, that's because somebody had some knowledge over on that side of the family. And that really can help.
There you go, Elliot. Sometimes it takes something like that. He said his dad had his gallbladder removed, so then he started watching what he was eating and working out and stuff. It's like that. Sometimes it takes that wake-up call. Like, do you want to share your story about smoking?
This, going back to the Jackass movie, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. So you can learn your lesson the real hard way, like I did.
Did you already share the story? Or?
No, I don't think so. Basically, I smoked cigarettes from the age of 13. I was addicted from day one. I had addictive personality for stimulants. So my first cigarette, I was addicted. 10 years went by. I didn't go a day without a cigarette. My lung collapsed at the age of 23. So I went to the hospital with a collapsed lung. They did the surgery. I refused the pain meds, so I had to experience the surgery. They had to stick a 16-inch rod through my chest and make a hole, and they pushed a tube in there and they pulled all the air out so that my lung would reinflate, which felt really weird. And then they pulled that freaking thing out and just, dude, it was a nightmare. It cost $15,000. And they basically told me it's not caused by smoking, it's caused by being a young, tall, thin male smoker. And if you continue to smoke, it's more likely to collapse. That's all I needed to hear. Here's my chance to quit. I was tied down by tubes in the hospital for 5 days. And here's my chance. I walked out the hospital door, and for the first time in 5 days, I was ready to have a cigarette. I mean, it hit me in the face like a ton of bricks. And I had to take that challenge and shrug it off, And since that day, I never had my lung recollapse, and I actually got a lot healthier. But I still had a really bad diet. So it wasn't until some years later that my inner ear went next. My inner ear basically, I got Meniere's disease, which is an autoimmune malfunction. And I ended up with losing my hearing. I lost 80% of the hearing in this ear, and I lost my balance. You should see my wedding picture. I was like totally green, and everyone else looked normal, and I was just green. I was trying so hard to just stand at this wedding, my own wedding. And I got to the wedding ceremony. I didn't make it to the reception. I missed my own wedding reception because of eating sugar. And the reason I believe that's true is because I quit eating sugar and flour afterwards, and now my disease progression has stopped. I got 20% of my hearing returned in that year, and I don't get dizzy anymore. It's been years. So I have a good motivation. You know, vertigo is a good motivation not to eat sugar and flour. So I learned the hard way by being really dumb, and I had to be really tough and not give in to the temptation. They told me I should take diuretics. They told me I should stop eating salt and I should take antihistamines. That was the medical solution. I ignored all that and quit flour and sugar instead. And I would recommend avoiding diuretics unless you're absolutely desperate. There's a lot of downsides to it.
Hi, Oni. Hi, David. Hey, Keith. Merry Christmas, everyone. Hey, we're in upstate New York as well. Yeah, Francois said he has a very similar story about his dad and everything. Lise has vertigo now. Hey, rock and roll. And I just wanted to say that he has a sexy scar from his lung surgery. But it's like a reminder too, you know, like a little battle scar. Like, remember when you had to have this rod shoved into your rib cage? You really want that again?
I do remember.
Oh, Atari. Thank you for the super hearts. But don't troll your wife.
Someone said they had vertigo as well. If it's Meniere's disease, I definitely recommend checking that out.
Lulu just got here. She wants to know what kind of diet is that you're referring to. Did we get through it all?
Yep.
Yay! Okay, we still have time, so we can do questions. There were some good questions. So we'll start with Lulu's question about, we have about 13 minutes left.
All right, here it is. Ready, guys?
She asked about diet.
Here's diet. Rule number 1 is balance your blood sugar. That's carbs, fats, and proteins. That is the only rule you need to know about any diet. All the rest of this is optional. Rule number 2 is vegetable content with micronutrients, chlorophyll, and antioxidants. And then we're talking about damaged fats. Damaged polyunsaturated fat is bad news. Trans fat is bad news.
Yes, we do.
Saturated fat, no problem. Doesn't cause heart disease. Check it out. Google it. You'll be amazed. Number 4 and number 5 are interchangeable. We're talking about organic versus conventional. Number 5 is toxicity. So we're talking about dryer sheets. Literally, like chemicals in your food and in your clothing and in your perfumes and everything like that. Those are the top 5 things I'm worried about. That doesn't include anything about alkaline, vegan, gluten-free, sodium, calorie counting, vitamin supplements, cleansing, fasting. I just probably offended tons of people. All that stuff is completely on the bottom of this list. The important things are up here as carbs, fats, and proteins, vegetables.
Good job, Lise, fighting the doctors. We talked about that yesterday on my broadcast that was called, What's the Best Gift You've Ever Received? And mine was that our cat survived getting hit by a car a few days ago. And I did the airing of the grievances in the spirit of Festivus. And I talked about some difficulties that we'd had with the doctors there and with the treatment. And Lise says here that she fought her doctors not to take half of her lung out.
Wow.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, they're like, we have to take half of your lung out. And sometimes I was like, can you not? And then they don't, and you're fine. Like, I'm not saying that always goes that way. And I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying, I'm really proud of you for fighting that. Deadbeat says, finally met your husband. Yes. And Lulu asked, do you think diet has a lot to do with depression and mental health? Absolutely. Absolutely. Hi, Sonam. Good morning.
Guys, right here. Brain fog, depression, anxiety, irrational, gullibility. That's over here in the sugar and flour category. Absolutely causes brain inflammation. It will screw you up.
Always get a second opinion. There you go. Hey, love. And then T-Cats, I think he might have ducked out, but he had asked earlier, what do you recommend for passive income?
That is a tough one, guys.
Write an ebook when you have a bunch of good ideas, and then sell it.
Everybody has an interest. Make some YouTube videos about your interests and upload them. That's like writing a book.
Indor said, very good presentation. I might give up flour and sugar for 2018.
I would love it. I would love to see. I would love to hear your story if it works well for you.
He's the one I told you has like 500,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
And all these Twitter followers. I'm like, who is that?
Lots of people are going keto in Hollywood, and lots of people are learning this stuff, figuring it out.
Yes, it's a liability thing. They're like, I can't say not to do this. I can't advise against it, and I have to advise you to get it. Like mammograms are a good example of this. Mammograms, the breast squishing thing where they like thanks Lulu, where she says we're a cute couple, where they test your breasts for masses and they, check. I don't actually know exactly what they do. I've never had one, but they do stuff to your boobs. And
this is what she's talking about, is when you go to doctors. This is all going to the doctors.
And yes, indoor smokers is a smoker. And good night, Atari. May Santa bring us chocolate popcorn and pineapple pizza. It all sounds amazing. Thank you very much. But all organic and with no sugar or flour. So somehow. So the mammograms, I was reading a book and they said that they did an interview of, I think it was like 60 doctors. And they asked the doctors, they were asking them different treatments. Would they recommend that to their loved ones or would they give it to their loved ones? And mammograms was a really interesting one. So out of, I think, 60 different doctors, they said, would you, or if it was a man, would you have your wife or your sister or whoever get a mammogram? So would you yourself get a mammogram to check to prevent breast cancer and or would you have a female loved one have a mammogram? And every single doctor in this group, now it wasn't a huge group. I mean, 60 might even be higher than it was. It was more, it was less, it was 60 or less. It wasn't like a huge group of doctors, but still, every single one of them said no. They wouldn't get a mammogram themselves, and they also wouldn't recommend anyone that they love to get a mammogram. However, legally as physicians, they have to recommend that you get a mammogram. They can't say that you shouldn't because then if you end up getting breast cancer, you can sue them for not recommending you get a mammogram. But it's like radiation or something. There's some reason that they wouldn't do it. There's like some side effects and like counter risk that go along with actually getting them. And I just was like, I never heard of that. It's just like the normal thing when you hit a certain age as a woman, you just start getting mammograms. Yeah, Dan says the government says you have to advise it.
Yeah, no disrespect to Dan or anybody who's a doctor in here. I know a lot of people actually want to help people, but I swear the government can get in your way, to block you from helping people sometimes. And also people, a lot of times they will not help themselves. And how can you help them as a doctor when they won't help themselves besides treating the symptoms?
The trolls are offering breast exams to all the women that need them.
There you go, problem solved.
Yeah, it's radiation. Very weird, right? All right, so we're getting to the end. Any last questions, comments, concerns? Any last moments of inspiration for us? All right, cool, Dan, thanks. Sorry. Lulu's like, come on, troll. Don't troll us, Ron. Freaking Ron. Nice to meet you, Ron. I'm Taylor. This is my husband. If you don't troll us, you won't get blocked, and you can hang out with us. It would be awesome. But I like your industrious nature, that you're like, breast exams, anyone needs them, I'm willing to take one for the team, and I won't even charge you. Thanks for the Super Hearts Indoor Smokers. Good night and Merry Christmas to you too, David. Hopefully we will be seeing you in June at the Santa Monica Pier. Hello, 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 hello. What? Oh, I meant to check the time and I just got distracted. Oni's asking a question. Okay. Oh yeah, we have like 7 more minutes. We're doing well. What about one every 3 or 4 years just to cover your bases versus every year? They said they would never get one. Where are we spending the day? At my family's. Husband has no real name but many nicknames. Yes. Well, his name is. Wait, what did we just decide your name was?
Bert.
No, the famous Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke. Are all the gifts wrapped? No, I'm gonna be wrapping gifts tomorrow morning.
We haven't figured out a pen name for me yet, so we're just like.
You're gonna question corn more. I like it. Autoimmune disease cures.
Autoimmune disease is disease number 4. It goes heart disease, diabetes, cancer. I don't know if I would put cancer. I guess I would go heart disease, cancer, diabetes, autoimmune disease. They're at the top 4 killers of people in the Western world. And here's the reason why. Sugar and flour. That's it. That's the whole reason for all 4 of those diseases. It kills millions of people every year. They don't have to die. But it's addictive. And how easy is it just to quit sugar and flour? If the devil has his claws on this, trust me, this is the hardest thing. It's really hard to do. We're talking about bread. That means no more bread, no more pie. I mean, you can definitely still eat some, but if you're an addict, you kind of can't. I can't have a little bit of a candy bar. I'll eat that candy bar, then I'll go buy 4 more. I used to go back and forth to the store with getting sugar, and
He's
I'd be like,
serious. He would eat like a whole pan of brownies in the night. Like I would go to bed, no brownies existed. I would wake up. He had made brownies and eaten all of them, pretty much. I mean, I don't know if I might be exaggerating, but like a half tin of brownies would be gone.
I'm a
I'm
hungry
like,
dude.
how could you even eat that many brownies?
I'm always hungry, guys. Always hungry.
Sugar and flour
So if you
are bad.
combine that with a sugar addiction, then you've got stuff like that happening. Yeah.
Mm.
I used to eat 150 grams of carbs at a time.
And Dan wants to know how's the wood stove working out.
That's awesome.
We
Yeah,
love it so much.
we got some nice hard oak, and we barely tapped into that pile, and it's been 2 weeks. So it's obviously putting out a lot of BTUs for us, saving us money on oil. It's been
Nice and
fun.
cozy. Jack loves it. Jack lays right next to it.
Yeah, we love it. It's great.
Merry
We have a
Christmas,
particularly
Yummy.
good wood stove that we got.
Thanks for sharing this on Twitter, Dan. I eat quite a bit of chocolate and sweets. All right, David. Well, I think subtraction through addition is a great way to help. So you can add in vegetables or water, something that you're lacking, and that will help you to cut back on your appetite for sweets because you'll actually have nutrients in your system so you won't feel so hungry. He ate most of the goji berry treat you made. Yeah, he did.
That has some sugar in it too.
Ron wants to know. Yeah, and I actually didn't put any stevia in that at all.
Yeah, that's good.
Ron wants to know, where can I learn more?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, any one of these particular topics, guys, you can study individually. We just blasted through this. This is like my life's work, pretty much. I mean, every one of these is a whole bag of worms we could talk about. I would be, I guess, like, keep an eye on this channel because we're going to be doing more collaborations and stuff. We're going to talk about this in more detail. This is like nutritional issues in order. If you wanted to know, is gluten-free a good idea? No.
Ethan.
I don't think so.
Can Ethan scope more often?
Sugar is gluten-free, you know.
You should make your profile picture Ethan Hawke now.
White rice is probably considered gluten-free. I mean, there's, gluten-free is almost like a scam, basically. So, it'd be nice wouldn't it be nice to know, like,
bags of worms? Are you talking about gummy worms? In which case, no.
Edible
if you're talking about actual worms, I suppose that might be fine. As long as they're organic worms.
And this is still a work in progress too, guys. If you have ideas and suggestions, send them over. And
Salud.
It always helps to have multiple heads on a project.
Awesome. Yes. Gluten-free is stupid, Dan says. Yes, Dan, exactly.
But for being honest,
cigarettes are gluten-free.
Yeah, cigarettes are definitely gluten-free. Yeah.
That's
now,
great,
guys, I'll say this, like, in regards to autoimmune disease, if you have a problem with your digestion, #1 culprit is sugar and flour. It can lead to things like Crohn's disease and colitis. It can lead to things like colon cancer.
Ooh, you ate silkworms? Merry Christmas, Sierra Maestro. Thanks for being here. This is my husband.
Now, people that have gluten problems, there's a very small percentage of people that have like a really severe genetic problem with gluten. But wheat itself is high in protein, which is high in gluten.
Celiac.
But almost all wheat in America is GMO, so it's sprayed with Roundup. And people that are eating it have their probiotics are all messed up in their digestive system.
Wheat, soy, and corn.
So if you have inflammation in your digestive system, almost anything is going to irritate it.
Yes, Dan.
And gluten in particular can be extremely irritating. What I'm trying to say is you're probably not really, most people are probably not allergic to anything that they think they're allergic to. Some very few people are actually allergic to certain things, but it's pretty rare. The rest of it is just autoimmune disease caused by flour and sugar.
Well, that's where you are today, Ron. You start there, and you can make progress. Yeah. Set a goal, set reasonable expectations, realistic goals, and come and hang out with us every day. We're on here every single day for 3 hours a day, and I help people specifically to reach their health goals, their wealth goals, their relationship goals. So you can come in and ask us any questions and just kind of get some motivation and some inspiration whenever you want. Gluten is like burgers and fries. Well, burgers are... Oh, you mean without the bun? Or pay Taylor to chain you to a wall. I like this. FMyoga.com.
Click really, support Fem Yoga. You're out in the world, like driving down the street, you're going to smell donuts and McDonald's and stuff. I mean, the temptation is off the charts. You're standing in the aisle trying to check out for gasoline or anything, and you're going to see candy bars all across everywhere. I mean, it is like... Yeah, no allergies. It is like... If you can resist that stuff, you're like Superman. I mean, it's really hard to live without flour and sugar in this world.
It's extremely hard, yeah.
But once you do, you're like, oh my God, this isn't hard. It's just, you got to get over the hump. you'll kick your addiction, and I don't have a problem with it. I walk through candy bar aisles all the time, even though I'm an addict, and I don't buy them and I don't eat them. None,
Good.
not one.
Avoid flour. That's right, Euromaestro. Yeah. Elliot says he's not allergic to anything. People with allergies are no fun. Euromeister says good advice. I love it all. You guys are all awesome. You can become a chain you to the wall level sponsor at femyoga.com. That's not a real thing. We're making up most of the stuff like as it's crossed 3 a.m. The last 13 minutes, we made everything up. I'm just kidding. It's like kicking cigarettes, right? Mm-hmm.
Exactly like
I
that.
found that it's very hard for the average American to avoid terrible food. Yeah, because they're addicted.
Yeah,
You have to go
everywhere.
to specialty stores. Yeah, you want to go to like health food stores. Walmart has a surprisingly good selection of organic foods, and the more we buy it, the more they'll get it because they just cater to the customers because they're smart.
That's their job. Yeah. The candy bars
Hey,
that are in the
Katie.
aisle is a reflection of us as a whole. It's not a reflection of the store.
Sugar, yeah, sugars in everything, Lisa. That's a great point. Hidden sugars.
Yeah.
She said tomato sauce. It's like applesauce. You're like, it's applesauce. It's apples. It is sweet enough. You don't need to put sugar into
Sugar
it. Same
in
thing like
applesauce?
well, actually peanut
That's
butter.
nice.
We like with a little bit
1 or
of
2
sugar.
grams, sure.
Organic sugar. Hey, Katie. You buy Amazing Organics Walmart. I did a food test one day and it said I have an intolerance to flour, but I love pizza. They make cauliflower pizza, I think, which is like still flour, but I feel like, I don't know, try it. Hey, Mr. Almost Perfect, Katie says.
There is no such thing as
You like
as
juicing?
safe pizza, in my opinion. Like unless you
olive
make it yourself,
oil. Haven't
even
heard of
then
that.
it's gonna have some flour in it. So if you're gonna do it, you might as well use sprouted organic flour.
Have you checked out Aldi?
Not a lot. No, I haven't. Haven't really. I gotta get
There
more
you go,
familiar with it.
Elliot.
But I've heard we have one nearby.
Pizza would be bad because it's mostly flour. But then, I mean, if it was like all organic, the tomato sauce, if it was grass-fed organic cheese, and
Sprouted organic
and
flour.
you ate it with like maybe a big glass of milk, whole grass-fed milk or something, or had meat on it, like there you go, free-range chicken on the pizza.
Yeah.
There you go.
You could probably
There's
do
a
it,
recipe
but you'd
for
probably
us.
have to make it yourself.
Yeah.
In order for that to
Right
work.
now, you have to make it yourself. But I do think that as this becomes common knowledge and people are like, why can't I get real food if I want to go get real food at a restaurant? I think that we'll start to see that become more accessible. And it'll revert back to the norm,
I hope so.
Pasta would be the same thing. You want to make sure that you put a lot of fat and protein with your pasta if you're going to eat pasta, and make sure it's organic, the best source of pasta that you can find. Have you heard anything about fake olive oil?
Yeah, it's kind of like olive oil has properties that I put this as on my rule number 3, which is damaged fats. Right here, damaged polyunsaturated fat content. That's a major problem. So that means that cheap vegetable oils that have been cooked are really, really dangerous. Right towards the top of this list, just like sugar and flour. So olive oil has omega-3 and it has mostly monounsaturated fat. So it's a little more resistant to damage when you cook it. So if you have fake olive oil, they probably mixed in cheap polyunsaturated vegetable oil. So that would actually make it dangerous. And to call it olive oil would be almost criminal in that way. There's lots of other oils that don't have a lot of polyunsaturated fat that you can cook with. What's the one?
High-oleic sunflower oil or coconut oil?
That's the other one.
Macadamia
oil. Yeah, macadamia oil is almost pure monounsaturated fat. But high oleic sunflower, as she said, is actually not a bad way to go.
I wonder what it's made out of,
Sonam. Also, watch out for soybean oil, guys. Corn oil. This stuff is really cheap. It's GMO. It's probably full of toxins, and it's damaged by heat.
Thank you,
So
H-Chan.
those kind of oils are in
Personally,
everything.
indoor smokers, I would say that's fine. He'd probably say no, but
What's that?
rice with salmon and broccoli.
Rice weirds me out because there's people in the world that can eat a whole lot of rice, and they don't seem to be having all the diseases that we have in the Western world.
Like Japanese
But they are eating, generally speaking, they're eating real rice, not Uncle Ben's.
Like wild rice,
like real whole foods.
Bertolli was fined $100 million for selling fake olive oil.
Wow. Yeah,
of the fast food chains, which are the best for healthy options? That's a good question. And that's going to be our last question. It's a great question, Euromaestro, and we're also done because we have to sleep. We have family.
Taylor can answer that question better than me.
Flaxseed oil versus fish oil for omega intake. I said that was the last question, but I lied because now I'm still reading them. So fast food, There's really no, I mean, there is, like, I don't even really want to say because I don't like to give up my location, but if you can find a place that has grass-fed burger, you know what? Outback Steakhouse has a grass-fed burger on their menu, and you can find other places. It's becoming more and more popular. So I think that's like a good replacement if you're going to go get a burger somewhere. You do have to get it for pickup, you know what I mean? It might be like a 15-minute wait. It's not necessarily like you're gonna go in and get it. But same thing as Subway. There might be a decent sized line and you have to order it, wait for them to make it and toast it, and you know what I mean? So about a 15-minute wait, you could call in a burger order. Dan says Chipotle has organic options. I've actually never been to a Chipotle.
Hmm.
Um,
Cool. We'll check that out. I'd love to be able to go out and eat someday. It'd be nice.
yeah,
Haven't been
yeah,
out for a while.
exactly.
A
Yeah,
couple years.
someone start a restaurant and we'll come eat with you guys. All right. Well, thank you guys
Wait,
so much
we
for
forgot to ask
watching.
them about flaxseed oil. It was flaxseed oil versus what?
Fish oil.
Fish oil? Fish oil. Yep. Flaxseed oil doesn't have all the things that fish oil does have, but flaxseed oil is probably more sustainable. But look, here's an interesting thing, guys. You probably won't need flaxseed oil or fish oil if you don't eat flour and sugar. It's more of a band-aid for those who do, and it does actually help. If you're going to eat flour and sugar,
Chipotle.
it's probably a good idea to take a really high pharmaceutical grade fish oil daily.
Your tiny mind. I love it. Merry Christmas, gamer girl. Love you too. Mwah. Thank you guys so much for being here. Special. Dan said this was an amazing scope. See, I told you.
Yeah,
They
that's
love
fun.
you. They love
That's
you.
fun. I love
It's
having that
better on my
interaction.
channel than his channel, right? Because his phone just doesn't work. And he got an iPhone and it doesn't turn on, so we're working on it. He might start scoping on his channel, or maybe I'll just pay him to come on my channel. So thank you for the super hearts, Dan, Elliot, Lise, Indoor Smokers, Contradictions, Baz, Ed, Kieran, Atari, Andy, and T-Cats. Thank you so much, every single one of you. I know everyone always says that he should come on more. Hello, Bass Eater, you're here just in time for the end. And Lotus, thank you for the super hearts. My husband's channel is, actually, I'm going to just put it below this, at Liberty DIY. So the top is going to have this book title that we're reading right now, just because I don't want to take it out, because that's going to be my next scope. Thanks for all these super hearts. Who's sending those? Is that Bass? Thank you, Bass Eater. Oh, I love you too, Lise. So this is my husband's username on Periscope. If you want to take a screenshot, I'll leave it up for 5 more seconds. That's his YouTube channel as well. He's got a lot more YouTube love than I do, but we'll get there. So go to my YouTube. Don't go to his. Just kidding. Go to both. Subscribe to both of us, Fem Yoga and Liberty DIY. Bass is a low glycemic food. That's very true, Bass Eater.
Fish.
How do we get live notifications? If you're having a problem with notifications, maybe try right now. Quickly try unfollowing and refollowing me. That might help. And then just make sure you have notifications turned on in the app as well. And with my account, make sure you didn't accidentally turn notifications off. If you have an iPhone, you can turn them off per person. And then also in your phone settings, you want to make sure Periscope can give you notifications. And follow me on Twitter, because Twitter notification, I always post my scopes to Twitter, so you'll also get a notification when I tweet out that I'm going live on Twitter. So it's kind of like a two-way. You can try both. That's my solution. So, thank you guys. Oh, and the hearts. Dan, thank you, Santa. And Red Spool of Thread. I still haven't figured out who you are, Red Spool of Thread. Who are you?
And
I still don't know.
When are we going to do our PT the JJ scope? I'm working on this for you guys.
No, we're not talking about that. This has been a great day to eat some bass. Exactly. I still have words on my head. Oh yeah, we're not getting into that right now. Remember? Oh wait, and Red Spool Francois. Francois is wearing a Fem Yoga shirt. If you want a Fem Yoga shirt, go to femyoga.com, click the store, and the top link there is to create custom Fem Yoga gear, just like the apron I was wearing on my last broadcast. On that site, so you can make whatever you want. This is an apron. Red Spool of Thread, big rubber ball. Now I want fish and rice. Have a safe day. You too, Lise. Hey, Gina. Thanks for popping in right at the end. We're just signing off. Thank you to Lou, Atari, David. Oh, I thought that was Gina. Wait, who's this? Thank you for the hearts, Shannon. And this person I can't see, I think it's Pablo. Yes. And Bass. Thank you. Remember, you're all worthy of being loved and feeling comfortable in your own skin. This has been A Moment in Time with Taylor and Mr. Perfect and Gina and Fuzman. That's that Austrian guy, right? That's my husband. And Oni, Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I will be back today on Christmas Day for 3 more hours of content. And the most exciting one of those, most likely, is Andy Dick will be on the show Split Screen at 11 p.m. New York time. So that's going to be a fun way for us to all celebrate the end of Christmas together. And yeah, Merry Christmas to you guys all. Yeah, we platonically love you too, Bass Eater. And I hope you all have a great night. See you soon.